legitimate options are there for Joshua other than Usyk?
Dillian White, Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz, maybe, but Usyk's definitely. I just feel like the timing of the order sort of came at quite a bad time in the mindset of Anthony Joshua, which was like, he was pretty pissed off that the Fury fight wasn't happening. So, and then it's like, okay, well, sorry about that. This is who you're fighting next now,
right.
And it's like, for years and years, obviously, when there's a mandatory fight, the purse split is predetermined. So there's not a lot of room for negotiation. When he fought Pulev, the split with the IBF is ridiculous, right? When he fought Povetkin, same thing. When he fought Takam, same thing. That purse split is predetermined. So, and he's never had, and he's not the kind of fighter that wants gimme fights, but he's never just had kind of like a routine, even when he was learning, which he actually is still learning. But after he beat Klitschko, they said, there's your letter, you're fighting Pulev. And that was his first defence of his unified championship. And then 8 days out, Pulev pulled out, and we tried to look for another opponent. The IBF said, no, you've got to go down the list. It was Carlos Takam. Okay, no problem, we'll fight the mandatory. Takam. Next fight, he unifies against Parker, and we get another letter. You've got to fight Povetkin. That was 3 or 4 years ago. Povetkin was, he's still dangerous recently, as we saw, but he was particularly dangerous then. Okay, no problem, we'll do that. Then he had a voluntary, and he chose Andy Ruiz, right? And he got beat, and then he boxed Andy Ruiz again. And then he got another letter and said, you've now got to fight Pulev again. Okay, and then now he wanted to fight Fury. That fell through. And he's got another letter saying you've got to fight Usyk. And if you keep poking the bear, at some point, you just turn around and go, fuck off. I'm going to do what I want to do now.
Is he at that point?
It's kind of like how the conversation went about a week ago, but over time, I think he realises that he doesn't want to vacate the belt. And I think that he's very proud. And I feel like he's a throwback fighter. He wants to take on all comers. And I think part of him thinks beating Alexander Usyk is an incredible name on the resume. Usyk is a pound for pound top fighter. He's an undisputed cruiserweight world champion. And that again just strengthens the resume. And I know I always go on, but when you go, Klitschko, Takam, Parker, Povetkin, Ruiz, Pulev, Usyk, that's the run. It's pretty good run.
Yeah.
Like there's no gimmies in there. So, I feel like as long as the deal goes smoothly and no one takes the piss and no one tries to be clever, then I think that fight is quite automatic. And the way that the conversations have been going with Alex Krasik, who I've worked with for the last 3 fights anyway, has been sensible. So as long as everyone's sensible, I think that's the fight. I think it's a very good fight. It's not the Fury fight, which is the one we wanted, but it's still a very good fight.
Eddie, could I just ask you one thing about the fight tonight then? One other thing. Before the Lomachenko-Lopez fight, we were, Lance and myself, I think Dan Rayfield, there was like 4 or 5 guys on talking to Mauricio, and he said, if you remember, Lance, very specifically, the winner of this fight is the WBC champion. And we quizzed him several times, and it wasn't franchise champion. He said the winner of this fight is the WBC champion. So I guess, do you look at Lopez as the WBC champion?
No. He's the WBC franchise champion, yeah. So
he did not say, remember that? He did not even say franchise. He said it wasn't Lopez at that time. It was on the winner. The winner is the WBC champion, period.
But, I think he changes his mind quite often. But, the truth is that Teofimo Lopez is the WBC franchise world champion. Devin Haney is the WBC world champion. The other governing bodies do not allow a franchise champion to unify the belts, right? So in that instance, the other governing bodies do not recognise Teofimo Lopez as the undisputed champion. So he should be, by the way, because he's tremendous. I mean, he beat the pound for pound, top 3, and he should be the undisputed champion. But on paper, he's not. I mean, but that's why I was saying to Michelle, when Canelo boxed Callum Smith, we asked for the WBC belt to go on the line, and there was a problem because Yildirim was mandated to fight for it. Okay, so I think that there was an opportunity there to make that fight for the franchise belt. Canelo didn't want that because he knew he couldn't be undisputed if he won the franchise belt. So he said, look, get me that, let's fight him quickly, Yildirim, so I can get hold of the WBC world title, not the franchise. I mean, the whole thing's absolutely ridiculous. I can't even believe we're living in a world where we're actually discussing this, you know.
And my second question on that then is, given what happened, you know, Bob's assurances to you about Fury, no problem on the arbitration, does that make it more difficult for you to do business with him, and would that be harder to get
because
a Lopez fight done?
Bob's actually quite good in that respect, because I think with Bob, you could literally burn down his house, and I think he'd make a deal with you the next morning for something else. Do you know what I mean? Like, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but that is basically the situation, and I actually love Bob for that,
right?
Because I could give this interview with you now, and I could slag off Bob Arum for an hour, right? And he would still phone me tomorrow to make a deal, where other people would go, I'm not working with him anymore, which is actually really bad for the sport. So for all Bob's faults, that's actually one of his good points. So I think in that respect, I mean, I don't know what's happening with Teofimo with top ranking. Is there a legal issue around the contract because of what happened and whatever? But you know, the great thing about, like I said, normally it's the network issue that will give you the excuse. With this, it's like, this is how it's going to be. Teofimo, here is your offer to fight Devin Haney, and if you also want to entertain that on ESPN, no problem at all. So in that respect, how can you not have a conversation about it? It's a bit like Canelo and Plant, really. So here's the DAZN offer. What's the Fox offer? Let's just talk and see where it makes sense for everybody.
I think some people